Back, we continue right here on the Island Contracting Nightly Sports Call. This is your place to sound off, so call us at 412-575-2600. A lot of people have done that already. Gene, let's begin with Dave in Findlayville. Hey, David, go ahead.
Good evening, Bob. Thanks for taking my call. How are you tonight?
Good. Thank you for calling, Dave.
All right. This off-season, between the three people, Letang, Kessel, and Broussard, who is most likely you think they will deal? I'll hang up and listen to you. Thank you.
Gene, what's your take on that?
Of those three players, I would take Kessel. He's worth the most in the trade market. They're clearly not happy with him based on the postseason comments. That's maybe an inference on my part, but I think that's true. And Letang, I would say, is the least likely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Letang is still a guy they liked. He adds to their depth. He occupies a lot of minutes, and I think all they have to do is simplify his game a little bit to reduce some of the risk-taking he goes through. Kessel, coming off a really big year. Teams out there can use him if they're close and they think they need a sniper to do it, and you might get something in return, or you may have to eat some of that contract, but still, if you're going to...
You might keep all three also.
And you might keep all three. And they can do that. They have some restricted guys they have to sign, and then there's down the road the looming contract for Jake Gensel, because he's played well enough to get the kind of money that would force maybe another decision based on how much you're going to have to pay him. Line 2 we go. It's Mike in Breezewood. Hey, Mike, what's up?
Hey, yeah, it looks like the real Pirates are starting to show through, and it's basic. I hate to bring up Hurdle in this situation, but you got Dickerson going up there. The guy, two guys in front of him walk, and he swings at the first pitch. Hurdle should be given to take. If he's not smart enough to know to get a few strikes, get a strike on him, or take a few pitches, he needs to be given that sign. That's ridiculous. Basic, fundamental baseball is what kills him. And Polanco, if Austin Meadows does well, I don't see how you can keep Polanco in that lineup.
Well, because Polanco's making $8 million a year, and they're not just, what are they going to do with that? Just send it out to the minors and keep paying him? I mean, they're not going to do that. But at the same time, a guy like Meadows, if he earns his stripes a little bit, you got to figure out a way to do something with him. And I understand it's a crowded outfield. What would you do, Gene? Would you just keep playing Polanco? And he's been a daily problem out there with regard to defensive baseball. He's not hitting. If he was hitting, you'd be okay with that. He's not hitting.
Polanco's getting worse and worse and worse. Dallas Green used to say, we got to pay him, but we don't have to play him.
So what would you do with him?
I'd send him out.
You would DFA him?
Does he have any options left?
I don't know. He might.
He might.
But he's due $32 million, which they owe him regardless.
Yeah.
So you're just going to let that go. Oh, I like you as an owner, Gene.
I got plenty of money.
You got a lot of money. He's a dangerous man with some money in his pocket.
Somebody else's money. Yeah.
Someone else's. All right, let's go out to Augie in Hollidaysburg. What's up, Augie? How you doing?
Thank you. Bob and Gene, just for what it's worth, I go to a lot of Altoona Curve games. Mm-hmm. And ever since it's been a franchise of 20 years as a farm team for the Pirates, I've seen all these guys that have left Altoona and worked their way up to Pittsburgh. Marte and Polanco, a.k.a. Beavis and Butthead. You're seeing a circus there that I saw in Altoona. The base running, the misplayed balls, the absenteeism of thinking. You're seeing it at levels now where it's at its top. It should have been. This is something that should have been corrected by the Pirates organization. They've left this become what it has.
Thank you for the call. You're right. It hasn't changed. Gene, we've been talking about bad base running, fundamental problems day in and day out. It seems like it just keeps happening.
Well, for the first time in his career, in my view, Marte offensively this year looks better. I still don't like him as a defender necessarily. And yeah, he still makes all kinds of mistakes, and I agree with the caller. He basically does not know how to play, and neither does Polanco. But, I watch a lot of baseball every night. I see a lot of players on a lot of teams who don't know how to play.
Yeah, and it should be taken care of, but it isn't. And the problem is you keep putting them out there, and it keeps happening, and where do you go? Line 1, we go to JR in Cooperstown. Hey, JR, what's up?
I just wanted to suggest, or what do you think of it? Why don't they shake up the starting lineup and put Brault and what's the other big right-hander reliever they have? Glasnow. Why don't they start starting them?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with that, although I think you have to owe those guys, especially Glasnow, an opportunity to stretch out a little bit. He hasn't done that since the spring. But, Gene, at this point, I mean, Nova's going to go on a DL pretty soon. You just know it's happening, and it may not be injury-related. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. I mean, something's got to happen there. I mean, they can't squeeze a win out of their starting rotations. It's becoming pretty desperate. I think Glasnow is a viable option. I think he's pitched pretty well in this kind of extended mop role they've had him in right from the beginning of the season. I'd be willing to take a chance on that. Brault, I don't really think knows what he's doing.
And Kuhl's been, he's got a great arm, but he's inconsistent.
Right.
One day he goes 8 shutout innings.
They have too many callow starters.
Good point. Jeff in Cranberry. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, I'd just like to make a comment. Polanco, we watched Alvarez for how many years do we have to watch him? Alvarez.
It's going to be for a while longer, I think.
Yeah. But now we have Polanco. I mean, you got just because why we ever signed for $8 million is beyond me, but you got to get rid of that guy. He's just a sore.
Okay, so how do you get rid of him and do you get anything in return, or you're just willing to eat the $32 million?
Why did we ever? When did he ever have a decent year?
He did.
To deserve $32 million. Did he ever have a good year?
He had, when he came up after he had the first time he was up and he was sent down, he came back up and he was pretty good. Good enough that they saw potential, and they decided to look. At the time, I didn't blame them for that because they're trying to get ahead of arbitration years and money and whatever they felt they allocated. So, Gene, I never have a problem with that. They did that with Jose Tabata. It didn't work, but it didn't cost them all that much money. They wanted to beat the odds there.
No, I mean, I think if Polanco turned into the kind of player that he looked like he might at one stage, and there was one stage.
Right.
I don't know the exact numbers on it. I think he had 20 homers and drove in 80 runs. It was something like that, but he was very young. And he has a body like Dave Parker, and he has tools like Dave Parker, but he just does not have. They were never refined.
No, and it continues to be that way. Let's go to Chad and Swickley before we go to a commercial break. Hey, Chad.
Hey, how are you tonight? Enjoy your show.
Thanks.
We're all excited here in Pittsburgh to see Fleury, get the Stanley Cup final. I got 2 questions. If he wins this, the team wins this, does he have a chance for sure to get in the Hall of Fame? And my other question is Wilson, the convicted felon, all over our team. I never can find out if he was ever fined. I know he was suspended for 3 games, but do they fine him his salary for those 3 games?
You called him a convicted felon. Why would you call him that?
I think that was poetic license, but I don't know whether the young man was fined. He was one heck of a player.
He's a player I'd like on my team, I'll tell you that right now. And I would take Ovechkin on my team. I know that's sacrilegious. People don't want to hear that, but the way Ovechkin has played has been fantastic, I think. By the way, Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call is brought to you by, of course, Ireland Contracting, Pittsburgh's #1 home exterior expert in roofing, siding, windows, and gutters. We're coming back with more right after this on Pittsburgh CW.